I never planned to fall in love again, especially not with someone younger than my own son. But love, as I've learned, doesn't ask for permission. It simply arrives quietly like rain after a long drought. My name is Emma, I'm 42 years old, and until a year ago my life was painfully predictable. I had a stable job as a marketing manager, a quiet apartment, and a heart that had stopped believing in surprises. I had been divorced for 6 years, long enough to convince myself that love was something meant for younger women, not for someone like me. It all began on an ordinary Monday morning. I was running late for work, juggling a coffee cup in my laptop bag when I bumped into someone in the elevator. He looked up at me and smiled, that kind of smile that's both shy and disarming. His name was Noah, 27 years old, new in the company, a software developer with eyes that carried both curiosity and warmth. First it was nothing, just polite smiles at the coffee machine, casual greetings in the hallway. But every time our paths crossed, something in the air changed. He would ask about my weekend, about my favorite books, about the music I listened to. His attention wasn't intrusive. It was gentle, almost reverent, like he saw something in me I had forgotten existed. One afternoon we stayed late at the office. Everyone else had gone home, and we were both finishing a project. The silence between us wasn't awkward, it was comforting. I caught him looking at me, and when our eyes met, he didn't look away. He said softly, "You know, Emma, I like how calm you are. Everyone here is always rushing. But you make the chaos feel slower." I laughed, trying to brush it off. That's just experience. After 40, you learn not to waste energy on panic. He smiled, but there was something deeper in his gaze. Admiration, maybe fascination. It unsettled me. And yet that night as I drove home I couldn't stop replaying his words. Days turned into weeks and suddenly he was everywhere. He'd stop by my desk with an excuse, a question about a report, a comment about a campaign, but his eyes always said more than his words. I told myself it was innocent, that I was imagining things, but deep down I knew I wasn't. One evening after a long meeting it started raining. My umbrella had broken that morning, and as I stood by the door trying to decide between getting soaked or waiting it out, Noah appeared behind me. "Can I give you a ride?" he asked. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The ride was quiet at first. The sound of rain tapping the windshield filled the silence. Then he said, "Can I ask you something personal?" I nodded. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you've become what others expected instead of what you wanted?" The question hit me harder than I expected. I looked out the window and whispered, "Every day." He smiled sadly. "Me too." When we reached my apartment, I thanked him and reached for the door handle. But he gently touched my hand, not enough to hold it, just enough for me to feel the warmth of his skin. "You deserve to be happy, Emma," he said. "Whatever that means for you." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about his words, and the way he looked at me, not like a woman past her prime, but like someone worth knowing deeply. For the first time in years I felt seen. From that night on something shifted. We started having lunch together, then coffee after work. We laughed, shared stories, and slowly, without realizing it, my walls began to crumble. I hadn't allowed anyone in for so long that I forgot how it felt to be wanted. Not for youth, not for beauty, but for soul. One Friday evening after another long week, he asked me to join him for dinner. "It's just dinner," he said. But it wasn't. The moment I saw the candlelight flickering on the table and the nervous way he adjusted his shirt, I knew it was more. We talked for hours. About everything, our dreams, fears, regrets. I told him about my failed marriage, how I'd lost myself trying to be someone's idea of perfection. He told me about his father, who never believed in him. And somewhere between laughter and silence, he reached across the table and touched my hand. His voice was trembling when he said, "I know this might sound crazy, but I think I'm falling for you." My heart stopped. My instinct was to pull away, to remind him of the obvious, our age difference, the whispers, the judgment. But when I looked into his eyes, I saw no confusion, no hesitation, just honesty. I whispered, "Noah, you're young. You don't know what you're saying." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but I know how I feel. And I don't care how old you are." His words disarmed me completely. It had been so long since anyone had spoken to me like that, without fear, without shame. That night, I didn't give him an answer. But as I lay in bed later, I couldn't deny the truth. I was falling for him too. The next days were a blur of emotions. Part of me wanted to run, the other wanted to surrender. Every time he looked at me, my heart betrayed me a little more. Then came the office rumor. Someone saw us having lunch together outside of work. Whispers spread like wildfire. I could feel the judgment in the stares, the fake smiles, the quiet laughter behind my back. I tried to distance myself from him, for his sake, not mine. He noticed immediately. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked one morning. "No," I lied. "It's just better if we keep things professional." He frowned, his voice soft but firm. "Emma, do you really care what they think?" I did. But I didn't want to admit it. Society isn't kind to women like me, women who dare to love younger men. There's always a label, always an insult waiting. But he wouldn't let me hide behind fear. He kept showing up with coffee, with small notes, with quiet understanding. One day, after avoiding him for almost a week, I found a small envelope on my desk. Inside, there was a handwritten note. It said, "You told me once that love doesn't make sense. Maybe that's why it's real. I'll be waiting. Not because I expect you to choose me, but because I believe you deserve someone who truly sees you." I read that note over and over until the words blurred through my tears. That evening, I went to the park where we often sat together after work. He was there, sitting on the bench looking up at the sky. When he saw me, he smiled, just a small, hopeful smile. I sat beside him, my hands trembling. "I'm scared," I confessed. "Scared of losing respect. Scared of being judged. Scared of you waking up one day and realizing I'm too old for your world." He turned to me. "Emma, I don't see your age. I see you, the way you listen, the way you care, the way you make every moment feel calm. You make me want to be better." His sincerity broke me. I felt my defenses crumble completely. Without another word, I leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. It was raw and trembling, like a secret finally released. When we pulled apart, I whispered, "We can't tell anyone." He smiled. "We don't have to. Let's just live it one day at a time." From that moment, our relationship became a beautiful secret. We'd meet after work, walk by the river, talk about our dreams. He'd tell me about his ambitions, his plans to travel, and I'd tell him about the things I wanted to do but never had the courage for. He made me feel young again, not because of his age, but because of how he saw the world. For months, our love existed between stolen moments and quiet smiles. But secrets have a way of finding light. One afternoon, I was called into my boss's office. She asked, in that careful corporate tone, if I was involved with Noah. I froze. My mind raced. Deny it, I told myself. Protect him. Protect your job. But I couldn't lie. "Yes," I said finally. "I love him." Her expression softened for a moment before turning serious. "Emma, you know this could affect your position." I nodded. I knew. But strangely, I didn't care anymore. For years, I had chosen safety over happiness. This time I chose love. That night, I told Noah what had happened. He immediately offered to quit, to take the blame. "They can't treat you like this," he said angrily. But I shook my head. "No. This was my choice too. We'll figure it out." He hugged me so tightly that I could feel his heartbeat against mine. And in that moment I realized something. Love isn't about age or timing or logic. It's about courage. The courage to stand against fear, against judgment, against everything that tells you it's impossible. Still deep down, I knew our journey was far from over. The world outside wasn't ready for us. And maybe neither were we. After that night, everything changed. I resigned from my job 2 weeks later. Not out of guilt, but because I wanted to live honestly without hiding. The office walls had become suffocating, every whisper cutting deeper than the last. I wanted to breathe again. Noah was worried. "Emma, you don't have to do this for me," he said. I smiled. "I'm not doing it for you, Noah. I'm doing it for me. For once, I want to choose what feels right instead of what looks right." I didn't know what would come next. A new job, new beginnings, maybe even new struggles. But what I did know was that I didn't want to live a life shaped by fear. For the first time in years, I felt alive. We started spending more time together. No more stolen glances, no more secrecy. We cooked dinner together, took long walks, and spent quiet mornings reading side by side. It was simple, but it was real. And it was ours. Yet, reality has a way of testing even the purest love. When I introduced him to my friends, the reactions were mixed. Some smiled politely, but most gave me that look, half pity, half judgment. "He's young enough to be your son," one whispered when she thought I couldn't hear. Another said, "You're just going through a phase. It'll pass." It hurt. Not because they were cruel, but because they couldn't see what I saw. A man who loved me without ego, without agenda. A man who reminded me that joy doesn't have an expiration date. Noah saw the pain in my eyes after that night. He didn't say anything. He just held me. And that silence, that simple wordless understanding, healed more than any speech could. A few weeks later, he asked me to travel with him. "Let's get away for a few days," he said. "Somewhere quiet. Just us." We chose a small seaside town a few hours away. The kind of place where time slows down, and even the waves seem to whisper secrets. That weekend felt like a dream. We walked barefoot on the sand, ate ice cream at sunset, and talked about everything: life, regrets, the future. One night, sitting on the balcony, he turned to me and said, "Do you ever wonder what people will say about us?" I laughed softly. "Every day." "And does it scare you?" I looked at him, my heart full. "It used to, but not anymore. Because I realized something: people will always talk. But they don't get to live this. We do." He smiled, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small, simple ring. My heart froze. "Noah." He looked nervous, but his voice was steady. "I'm not asking for forever, Emma. I just want you to know that right now, in this moment, I choose you. No matter what they say. No matter how hard it gets." Tears filled my eyes as he slid the ring onto my finger. It wasn't a proposal, it was a promise. And somehow that meant even more. When we returned home, things weren't easy. My family found out. My sister was furious. "You're embarrassing yourself," she said. "He's going to leave you for someone younger. Someone who can give him a real future." Her words cut deep. I didn't respond, not because she was right, but because I knew she was speaking from fear, not cruelty. She had never dared to love beyond boundaries, and she couldn't understand that I finally had. That night, I cried quietly in Noah's arms. "What if they're right?" I whispered. "What if one day you wake up and regret this?" He cupped my face gently. "Emma, I can't promise forever. No one can. But I can promise that what I feel for you is real. Today, tomorrow, and as long as you'll let me love you." It wasn't a perfect answer, but it was honest, and that honesty was everything. Over time, the world around us began to adjust. My friends stopped whispering. My sister started inviting him to family dinners. Slowly, the shock turned into acceptance. And then respect. They saw the way he looked at me, with admiration, not obligation. They saw the way he made me laugh, the way he cared for me when I was sick, the way he celebrated my every victory, big or small. We built a home together. A small apartment filled with books, music, and sunlight. Every corner of that place held a piece of us. The wine stain on the carpet from our first anniversary, the photo from our beach trip, the letters we wrote each other on sleepless nights. I found a new job teaching creative writing, something I'd always wanted but never dared to pursue. Noah encouraged me every step of the way. "You've spent your life telling other people's stories," he said. "Now it's time to tell your own." And that's exactly what I did. But love, real love, isn't a fairy tale. It's a journey, one that requires patience, forgiveness, and courage. There were days when our differences showed. Days when I felt insecure about the lines on my face, or when he struggled to balance his ambitions with our life together. But every time we came back to the same truth. Love is a choice. A choice we made again and again. 2 years passed. We were happy. Imperfect but happy. Then one morning as we were having breakfast, he looked at me and said, "Emma, I got an offer. A big one. A job in London." My heart skipped. London was far. Too far. "When do you have to go?" I asked quietly. "Next month." We sat in silence for a long time. I could see the conflict in his eyes, the excitement of opportunity mixed with the fear of leaving me behind. Finally, I said, "You have to go." He shook his head. "I don't want to go without you." I smiled sadly. "You must. You've worked for this. Don't let love hold you back. Let it give you wings. He reached for my hand. Then come with me. I hesitated. My whole life was here, my students, my family, my roots. But then I thought about all the times I'd let fear decide for me. And I realized I didn't want to live safely anymore. So I said yes. We moved to London a month later. The city was chaotic, alive, full of energy. Felt like a rebirth. We found a small apartment overlooking the Thames. I started writing again. Essays, short stories, reflections about love, courage, and the beauty of second chances. One day, Noah came home holding a magazine. "Look," he said, smiling. My essay, Our Love Overcame the Age Difference, had been published. I couldn't believe it. I wrote about us. About how love had defied logic, how it had healed wounds that time couldn't. About how it had made me believe in myself again. The response was overwhelming. Letters, emails, messages from people who had been judged, who had been told their love was wrong, thanking me for giving them hope. And that's when I realized our love wasn't just ours anymore. It had become a story that inspired others to believe again. A few months later, Noah took me to the same park where we first kissed. The trees were blooming, the air filled with the scent of spring. He got down on one knee and said, "You once told me you didn't believe in forever. I don't either. But I believe in today. And I want to spend every today with you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. Yes. That day, surrounded by laughter, sunlight, and the sound of our hearts beating in rhythm, I knew love doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about numbers or years or opinions. Just is. Now, when I look back, I see that our love was never about conquering time. It was about learning to live fully within it. Age was just a number. Fear was the only real barrier. Noah taught me that youth isn't measured in years, but in how deeply we dare to feel. And as I write this, watching him asleep beside me, I realize something beautiful. Love doesn't grow old, it grows wiser. We overcame the odds, the whispers, the doubts. And in doing so, we didn't just prove them wrong, we proved that love, when real, transcends everything.